Yeah, I know it's been a while since I last recorded. I know it's been like 3 weeks, but your boy's been busy. All right. Welcome back to On the Sideline. Thanks for joining me. I am your host, Ki-Hoon Lee. In this week's episode, we recap all the games from championship weekend, discuss my initial thoughts about Jesse Minter going to the Ravens, Mike McCarthy going to the Steelers, and Todd Monken as the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe button, turn that post notification bell, like this video, and comment down below what is your Super Bowl pick. And without further ado, let's get into the video. A quick note before I start today's video. I want to say this is like my last-ish like live recording because surprise, surprise, I'm going on a trip for about a month. So if you're wondering why I'm recording it this time when it's like a different time here, like it's because I'm on my trip. No further questions. So anyway, let's start with the first game, and that was the Patriots and the Broncos. And honest to God, this game was kind of boring. All right, I'm not gonna lie. This game was really boring to watch. I watched probably majority of this game. I stopped watching after the third quarter. No offense. But as you can see here, yeah, you're seeing it right now. Drake May had 86 passing yards and took 5 sacks. Ramondre Stevenson had 71 rushing yards. Drake also ran it in for a touchdown. The leading receiver of this game for the Patriots was Mac Hollins with 51 yards. Defensively, Christian Gonzalez had himself a day. He had a sack and interception. Christian Ellis had a sack and interception. Christian Barmore had a sack. And before you know it, shout out Andreas Borges, even though he kind of struggled a little bit. He was the main anchor for that Patriots team. As for the Broncos, I mean, this game was not fun if you're a Broncos fan. I mean, you got Jarrett Stidham going for 133 yards and a touchdown and an interception. He was also sacked 3 times. He actually played pretty well before you know, before all hell broke loose. RJ Harvey had 37 yards rushing. Receiving was led by Marvin Mims with 62 yards, but Cortland Sutton did catch the touchdown. And defensively, they hold their ground, but it wasn't enough. Next game up, we got the Seahawks and the Rams in what my favorite NBA reporter would say, Kyle Montgomery would say, this was a barn burner to the finish. I mean, you got Matthew Stafford, who played really well in this game, 374 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. He did take 1 sack. Rushing was led by Blake Corum with 55 yards. Receiving was led by Puka Nacua with 165 yards. Devontae Adams had 89 yards passing and a touchdown. Kyron Williams also caught a receiving touchdown. And outside of Cameron Kitchens, Brandon Fisk, and Jared Verse, their defense couldn't do anything. As for the Seahawks, I mean, this was, in my opinion, the best game I have seen Sam Darnold play. All right. And keep in mind, I didn't watch a ton of Sam Darnold, like, as he got in the league, but this was his best game, period. 346 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He did take 3 sacks, though. Rushing was led by Kenneth Walker with 62 yards and a touchdown. Receiving was led by Jackson Smith-Njigba with 153 yards and a touchdown. And outside DeMarcus Lawrence, they couldn't do anything. But as the saying goes, big time players make big time plays, and that is exactly what the Seahawks offense did in this game. So yeah, those are my thoughts about conference championship weekends. What are you guys' thoughts? So moving on to our next segment, we're going to be talking about 3 teams that hired brand new head coaches with the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Browns, because obviously, like those are the 3 more recent ones, if I could think of it on the top of my head. So let's start with the Ravens, because I think they were first on the list on hiring a new head coach, and they hired Jesse Minter. My immediate reaction to this is that This is the same old Ravens. And what I mean by that is they always hire a defensive-minded head coach. I think John Harbaugh was a defensive-minded head coach, but still, I love this hire for for the Ravens. I think he's going to help this defense become top 10, because if you looked at his time in like San in the on the I need to say San Diego Chargers with the LA Chargers, they were like top 10 in almost every statistical category. So bravo them. I have some questions about who they hired as the offensive minded, as their offensive coordinator, but I'm really excited to see what he does with this Ravens team and if he could bring them back to life. Because as many of you guys know, this was a really bad season. Moving on to our next hire, we're going to be talking about the Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy. And I've thought about this for a while now, and I think honestly, as crazy as this sounds, I really do think the Steelers can run it back with this team. All right. I think, because, this team needs like one more piece. I really do. Even though they haven't looked great over the past like decade, like they have been a good team. All right. And I think if they do run it back and if they do get a wide receiver two on this team, I won't be surprised at all if the Steelers win 10 to maybe 11 games next season. Games. So yeah, moving on to our next hire. I know this is crazy. We're going to talk about Todd Monken going to the Cleveland Browns, and my biggest takeaway was this is, I guess, I don't know, humbling for the Browns because this is what you get when you fire a good head coach in Kevin Stefanski. Like, I understand a lot of Browns fans have mixed opinions about Stefanski because maybe he should have played Shador earlier or like he didn't like Shador. Like, the guy is a damn good head coach. All right. I'm sorry for saying that, but he is a very good head coach. All right. I understand there's like love-hate relationship with, both sides, but he's a good head coach. All right. If you remember in the preseason, I said that this guy was basically one of those coaches that was bad, but it's not what you think. Like he was in a really bad situation. All right. No offense to Browns fans. All right. I know you guys got dogs on your team, but that's what it was, And I do think that with him getting fired, it just shows why you shouldn't do it. Like, and I hate putting this team on blast. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Phoenix Suns a little bit a few years ago when they like I think, you know, fired Frank Vogel. I know I was the one that said something on it. I think I said something on Reddit. But still, it shows why you shouldn't jump the gun, as I'm gonna say here. Why you shouldn't do it. You know, but yeah, next higher up, we're gonna talk about Mike LaFleur to the Cardinals because apparently there's a lot of mixed reviews on it. Now, keep in mind, I don't know a ton about Mike LaFleur other than the fact that he's like the Packers' brother, head coach, Matt LaFleur's brother, and he was I think the OC for the Rams. But I do think, like Mike McCarthy in this aspect, I do think if they do bring back Kyler Murray, I think that he could do wondrous things, presumably if he sticks around. I know there's a lot of people saying trade Kyler Murray, time to start something new, but I think I'm curious to see what Mike does with this Cardinals team because the Cardinals have a lot of talent. So we shall see what happens. And finally, our last hiring is Robert Saleh to the Titans. And my biggest takeaway from, him getting the coach for the Titans is one, I am shocked that he, was coaching the Titans. But number two, I really do think that this Titans team can be frisky next year. Like people tend to forget this, but a few years ago, the Titans had I think, top 10 defense statistically. Like they were a pretty good defense. All right. Now, last year obviously was a mess. But I do think, though, Robert Saleh is a good head coach. He is like he's like I don't know if he would play. He's like the Kevin Stefanski, in terms of like he's a good coach, but he's just in a really bad environment. If you get what I'm saying. So I really do think, and I really like when they got Brian Dable as that offensive coordinator. That is going to be very interesting. So who knows? Maybe the Titans may be good next year, or maybe they just, don't do well. So what are your guys' thoughts on the Titans hiring Robert Saleh? That's number one. The Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy. The Ravens hired, hiring Jesse Minter. Wait, let me know in the comments section below. So moving on to our next segment, we're going to be discussing about the Super Bowl because as many of you guys know, the Super Bowl is less than 4 days away. Actually, it's 4 days away, but it's 4 days away. And honestly, everyone wants my opinion on it. So here are my three keys for both sides. The Seahawks, I know they said the Steelers, the Seahawks and the Patriots win this game. And then, of course, I will, give you my pick and my, final score. So let's start with the Seahawks. And I think for the Seahawks, the key for them, the first key is to start off fast. All right. We know that Seattle is very good. Like they're one of the best teams in the league. They usually start off fast. But in this particular game, and I know it's a Super Bowl, folks, you got to start off fast. Like I've always had a saying, which is you got to be in attack mode early, and that's what the Seahawks have to do. They got to be in attack mode early. All right, so that's the first key. The second key for the Seahawks to beat the Patriots is to make Drake May uncomfortable. Because if you guys haven't watched the Patriots at all this postseason, there is one major flaw with this team. And I actually was going to make a video about this earlier, but I didn't have a lot of time. And that is their offensive line. Like, no offense, but the Patriots, got lucky in a way that Drake May and their defense played really well. Because that offensive line, and I'm sorry for saying this to you guys, Patriots fans, because I have a few friends who are Patriots fans, is absolute dog shit. Like, it is terrible. So you got to make Drake uncomfortable if you're the Seattle Seahawks. All right, defensively. And then the third key, and I think this kind of relates to the first one, which is you gotta get JSN going because I know for a fact that the Patriots are gonna double team him, get double team. I can smell it already. They're gonna say we're not gonna let Jackson Smith-Njigba beat. We're not gonna let Jackson beat us. All right. So that's why those are my three keys for the Seattle Seahawks to beat the New England Patriots. Now let's go over to the other side. You know, how does the New England Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks? Because it feels like everybody's wondering, like, is there any hope? You know, to me, the only here are my like I said, here are my three keys for the Patriots beating the Seahawks again. So key number one, and it kind of relates to what I said with the Seahawks, is you gotta protect Drake May. Because that defense for Seattle is nasty. All right. Their front with I have to remember their front now with DeMarcus Lawrence. Um, God, DeMarcus Lawrence. Who's the other one? Byron Murphy and company. They're gonna get after you. All right. I think that is the first key. All right. And so, all right, because if you can protect Drake May, if you're the Patriots, if you protect Drake May, you have a chance. All right. We saw like, all right, if you protect him, you have a chance. My second key is and I said this before, you gotta double team JSN at all times. All right. Like if I'm Mike Vrabel, I'm telling my defensive coordinator, put Gonzo and I think Marcus Jones, I think is corner. Correct me if I'm wrong, Patriots fan. But Marcus Jones, put Marcus and Gonzo on Jackson. Do not let him off your sight. All right, because Jackson has been balling out this postseason. All right, he's been balling out. So that is the first, that is the second key. The third key is I said this before, you got to get off to a fast start. All right, because I don't think the Patriots have enough talent to keep up with Seattle. Like, yeah, we've seen it. They've been in shootouts before. I think they've had been in like, let me actually double check their schedule. As a matter of fact, let me check their schedule if they have ever been in a um shootout before with anybody this season. Okay, let me see. Let me see. Hold on. I'm using the Score mobile app on my phone because it usually tells me everything. But let me see. Okay, let me go through the Patriots and if they got any. Yeah, they've been in a couple shootouts before, and I know for a fact they can do it. All right. But at the same time, I don't think they're ready to play what I call catch up. All right. Because they don't have a lot of talent on their side of the ball. All right. So that's my third key. So first, let me remind everybody, Seattle's key, get off to a fast start, get Jackson Smith and Njigba going, and defensively, get after Drake May and pressure him. And for the Patriots, start off fast, shut down JSN, and then protect Drake May. Those are my three keys. I know people are gonna say they're very similar. Is that there's not a lot of things that like could go wrong for both teams. Which leads me to my final point. Because everyone's been asking me for the past week since they announced the Super Bowl, who is gonna win Super Bowl 60? I'm gonna tell you this: both teams have been amazing this postseason. Seattle and New England. I think both teams could be 1 and 2 in terms of which NFL team has the brightest future. All right. But with that being said, I'm sorry because I live in Washington. I'm gonna take the Patriots to win this. I just have this weird feeling that Drake May is gonna put on a master performance. All right. I do think Seattle is going to keep it close because, as I said, Seattle has been amazing this year. All right. But I am going to take the Patriots to win this game in a very, very close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. 28-27. All right. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this video? I know it was kind of pretty short, but there was only two games on a few weekends ago. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video because, I enjoy making these kind of videos. And I know we're not there yet, this first year of doing a football podcast this year. But with that being said, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Stay safe out there, stay warm out there, enjoy the Super Bowl. I'm gonna probably either drop my Super Bowl reaction either the day of the night after the Super Bowl or the first day post Super Bowl. Super Bowl. I haven't decided yet. But hope you guys have an amazing day and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.